The last part of this tutorial on chords, we're going to learn about a thing called inversions. Chords do not always appear in root position. Root position is the way we've been learning chords, where we have the root at the bottom, the third chord tone, and then the fifth chord tone. They don't always appear like that. When playing a chord progression, the hand has to jump around a lot from one root position to another. I'll give you an example. If I play 1, 4, 5 using the primary chords we've just learned, you can see that my right hand is having to jump from chord to chord. And after you play quite a few chords in a longish progression, it starts to get a little bit tiring to try and do that. So to avoid this and improve the playability of the piece, the chord may be inverted. Inverting the chord involves altering the note that is played on the bottom or the top of the chord. In other words, the notes are shuffled to better suit their playability. The first inversion we're going to have a look at is actually called first inversion. It involves taking the root note and shifting it up the octave to being the highest note in the chord. So if we take a root position chord, we take our root note and we're going to shift that up the octave to the C up here. So now we're playing the third chord tone at the bottom and then the fifth chord tone and the root note at the top. That's what a first inversion looks like. The next inversion we're going to look at is second inversion, and this involves moving the root note as we did in the first inversion, but we're also going to move the third chord tone up an octave as well. So the third chord tone is now the highest note in the chord. I'll show you how. So if we start from our root note, we do a first inversion by taking our root note up the octave, and then to get our second inversion, we're taking the third chord tone up the octave as well. And so now the fifth chord tone is the one that's at the bottom. Practice playing the chords that you know in their different inversions. Start with root position and then play first inversion and then second inversion and then go on to the next chord. Then you might like to try and play some of the primary chord progressions that you learned in the last part of this tutorial and try playing them in the different inversions. I'll give you an example. That's root position in my 1 chord, and that is second inversion in my 4 chord, second inversion in my 5 chord, and then down to first inversion, and then back to root position. And you can see how I played those chords. My right hand didn't have to shift around nearly as much as it did when we were just playing root positions. So you can see how that is really handy as a pianist when you're playing chords. So you're going to be doing a lot of that in Songpon, so this is something really great that you've been learning. Now you can go on to the next recommended tutorial for this Songpon Beginner Lesson series, which is helpful tips for Songpon.